already.
Yeah.
Oh,
Live hit record just now.
like 20 seconds ago.
Okay. It's Monday, September 8th, 2025. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we are talking about specific mice. So yeah, we're back from PAX West because I missed the last PAX West. Actually, it was nice to get back to Seattle, which seems much more lively than it was 2 years ago when I was in Seattle.
Yeah, I don't know. 'Cause, I was there 1 year ago when you were not there, and it was, the saddest, quietest Seattle. I don't know how much of that was because of the extremely large cruise ship that was docked there.
They're there like every PAX. It's a thing. So because I go running.
There wasn't one last year, that's for sure. But those people definitely clogged up the market. That's without a doubt.
Yeah. Because every year I go for runs, and Emily and I, when we're there, we'll usually run along the water. But as you all know, I run more and more lately. So now I can run like 16 miles without thinking about it. So I run like all the way up to the top and around these parks and like back down through the city. And I got all these routes, but I have to be very careful to avoid the two cruise terminals if there are cruises there, because if there is a cruise at either of these terminals, at the last PAX, there was one at both. There is a mass of beings. So many people, so many cars in a gridlock, the entire sidewalk blocked with people rolling suitcases around, the entire street blocked with cars and people with suitcases, chaos everywhere, people yelling, cops yelling at cabbies, people get freaking out because they think they're going to miss the cruise because they're stuck in traffic because they didn't follow the rules. Like, it's so ridiculous that we can't run through it. Like, we have to remember which streets to use to like bypass that whole area.
Yeah, it's funny because like there are cruises that come to Manhattan on the west side, and I've seen giant boats there in the past. But when I've ever gone down there and seen those boats, there really isn't that much craziness on.
I can tell you why, because Manhattan, those piers have a bunch of infrastructure for buses and shuttles, and even taxis and things to get there, and you can walk out of it and basically be right in the city. But the one in Seattle, the kinds of people who are getting off that cruise ship are not going to walk to the market from there. And there's also nowhere.
Also, you would also, the nature of Manhattan, like you couldn't tell if there were cruise people in town or not, right?
But even the other big difference is there is no parking anywhere near either of those terminals in Seattle, and there isn't even but there also isn't even a lane for like buses to pull over to like pick people up. Like, there's no bus infrastructure either. There's just nothing. So it's thousands and thousands and thousands of people all standing there holding up their phones trying to get a Lyft or an Uber.
If you wanted to come to this city, you could have just flown directly here. You didn't need to bring a hotel with you.
Yep.
They're probably less, they're crazy expensive, but I guess depending on what your conditions are on the boat.
Yep. But this past weekend we didn't go biking because I broke a spoke and my wheel is effed, and I just haven't had a chance to replace it yet because I've been busy. So we went hiking instead upstate. But in another sign of changing times, much like when we got caught in that wildfire that descended upon us despite checking every possible forecast in advance when we biked, we're up hiking, and I checked the weather the night before and I checked the weather in the morning, both where we started and where we were hiking, and it said clear skies. And then we get up there.
Because I checked the weather and I knew that storm was coming at least a day in advance.
I did check the night before, and it basically said clear skies, light chance of rain.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was coming at 3 or 7, but I knew the rain was going to start later that day.
I did see light rain in the evening. It was not evening.
I've seen some of the 7 reports and not the possible 3 reports that, were also mixed in.
But it was awesome because I actually really like hiking through the rain, unless it's also cold. It was nice out. So we were basically in the woods, not on the top of a ridge, because then we would have like gone down to find shelter, but like hiking, skirting the side of a ridge. And as we're skirting the side of the ridge,
fall off.
I mean, it's a ridge. Ridges are not cliffs. They're two different things.
Just saying, don't fall. You can still fall off.
They would be really hard to fall off. You'd have to work at it. Also, we are expert hikers. Like I could say definitively we're expert hikers. So we're doing fine. We're hiking, and the storm rolls over. So basically, out of nowhere, monsoon rains, thunder echoing off the ridges in every direction. Like, it was absolutely fantastic. And we hiked through this like ridiculous environment. It was super fun. And then the storm rolls away and the sun comes out and we finish the rest of the hike. But I know other people were surprised by this storm up in the mountains, because normally if I'm out there in a place like that and there is any chance of like thunderstorms or lightning storms, there's nobody out there. Like, you don't run into other people except like super hardcore people who are like kitted out for nonsense. We passed a lot of people who were similarly not expecting to get rained on and did not look like they had a good time with the rain while we were out there.
I mean, you know, it's like if I don't getting wet, it's like I go in the shower and get wet on purpose, right? So I never really care. Even if I'm biking, I don't care if I'm getting
I actually
wet,
like biking through the rain. It's just in the summer rain. Summer rain, I bike through monsoons, and it's a really enjoyable experience.
Well, it depends how dangerous it is. If you can even see, if you're gonna fall down.
Mainly, the only thing I don't like about it is then I gotta like super clean out and relube my bike usually.
But, you know, it all depends on, you know, conditions. But the point is getting wet. It's like it's like getting wet is fine. I go in pools and oceans on purpose. Right? It's all about, is there some sort of inconvenience to getting wet? Like, are there things
like, am I wearing my opera finery and don't have an umbrella?
Right. Or is my next stop on this journey a place I do not want to be wet when I arrive? Does the next place I stop on this journey not have towels?
That's why I like hiking and long distance biking, because these are sports where, well, not just sports, but also just activities where my only mission is to get from point A to point B and enjoy myself. So I treat it like I'm traveling. I am kitted out. And if we rolled into one of those hotels when we biked to Rochester, like covered in mud, like head to toe, covered in mud. And the hotel was just like, did you guys have a nice ride?
Yeah, it's like they have a shower there. It's a fine place to end muddy.
I imagine if we went straight to the restaurant, I don't think they would have been super jazzed about it.
That would have been a problem, because then you're sitting uncomfortably indoors on like all muddy and wet. And it's not fun.
Yep. Plus, like, our backpacks are waterproof. We have our hiking staves to walk with so we don't fall over.
On, like, you know, if you're right, it's like if you have a second clothing, or you can clean and dry the clothing you have to switch to another clothing.
Yep.
But if you can't, that's much worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, different cultures too. Like I have several German colleagues who one time they saw me using an umbrella, and they're all every time they see me, they're like, "Sugar boy, are you going to melt in the rain?"
Okay.
That's a kind of. I grew up in a place where people commonly don't really use umbrellas. They just won't go out if it's raining, or they'll just run through the rain. And parts of Germany are kind of like that too. They'll just walk in the rain and like not react to it at all.
Depends how much rain.
Yeah, depends on what part of Germany too. But I have been called by several people, and I am still called to this day Sugar Boy, because I had the audacity to use an umbrella once, and they saw me walking with this umbrella on my way to the office.
Okay. I'll be laughing when you're wet and I'm dry.
Yeah.
At the office, which is not a place I want to be wet.
I did one time.
Do they have showers at the office? Towels?
That building, that office does not, but they're moving to a better building.
Then I want to use the umbrella.
Yeah.
I don't want to get my office chair all wet and have it be soggy and have for the rest of the day. That sucks.
So there is some news, and I feel like the Google one is the one we should really talk about, because it's a pretty big deal, but there's a lot to it that we're not going. If you want to know the details of this, you should read the reporting on it and not listen to us.
The summary is that a long time ago already, right? The United States government brought a case against Google, an antitrust case, mostly revolving around the intermingling of their dominance in the digital advertising business, especially when they bought DoubleClick, and their dominance of the search space since they beat all the competitors in the late 90s, and then combining those and doing various anti-competitive, potentially illegal things to be an illegal monopoly, right? And so this case has been going on, and at some time ago, the judge was like, "Yeah, guilty. You're an illegal monopoly, right? It's not cool." And just now, or at least some days ago, the ruling came out, and the judge is like, all right, this is what's going to be. And the sentence, what's going to happen to Google, although I'm sure there will be 10 billion appeals before anything actually happens. The point is, people were expecting / hoping the judge would say something like, you have to sell Chrome, you have to split the ad business off, break up Google into a million pieces.
Yep.
There are so many possible remedies were on the table. And what happened, the news is the judge, unsurprisingly in our shitty society, came in with a weak sauce sentence.
You almost never get the good ruling or the good sentence in a big case in the United States.
AT&T, baby.
Yeah.
It happened. It can that was legal. It can happen again if we just have the will.
However, the Ma Bell breakup ended up being worse in the long term because it led to deregulation. Really, that should have just been fully nationalized permanently, but I digress.
Sure. But, whatever. Here we are.
But yeah, so Google does not have to sell Chrome, which fine, I gave up on Chrome a while ago because Chrome's not been great lately.
No.
I've basically, the only part of the Google ecosystem I still use is because Scott and I built our lives around our Front Row Crew domain, which we happen to run on Google. I'm stuck with it. Like YouTube, I'm stuck with. There really aren't alternatives that work that we could also migrate to effectively. That's, I think, one of the biggest risks to like my online life is if Gmail, Google, and or YouTube had a problem.
Yep. And it's like, because we did that made so much sense long ago, we're now stuck with it, even though I would not choose that today.
Yep. I mean, really, the moment when they formally removed Don't Be Evil from the corporate documents.
Yeah,
and people
it used to be, like, at the time I did that, I was like, naive, but I was a big Google fan. I was like, Google is great.
And at the time, Google was doing a lot of pretty good things, all told, broadly. Also, I remember a lot of turbo nerds defending Google removing the Don't Be Evil clause and basically saying, oh, but like, why would you?
I don't remember anyone doing that, but I remember people being not as, concerned as I was.
That is an all hands on deck. If you have a sign that says Don't Be Evil and that is your guiding principle and you announce that you're getting rid of the sign, the fuck are you saying?
It's like, what? It's like you could have been evil and kept the sign. The fact that you're getting rid of the sign is like, it might as well just be announcing we are going to be evil now.
Case in point, the United States is now calling the Department of Defense the Department of War instead.
Technically, that's only like an alternate name until there's an act of Congress to change the main name.
Yeah, but you know what? Technically, the SS was not part of the military, and it was illegal for Hitler to do that without approval of the...
Yeah.
Yeah, Department of War, Don't Be Evil, it was all the same thing. Google is a...
Someone changes the name to Department of War, it means they want to make war.
Yep.
They have the name nominative determinism. It's real.
But the Google thing, I don't even use their search much anymore because their search doesn't fucking work anymore. But no search works. Like, they're so worried about this search monopoly, but search seems to be slowly being replaced by nothing.
I think a lot of people just don't search, right? It's like you look on the communities online, and a lot of people, it's like, whether they're typing their queries into some LLM maybe, but I think a lot of people just, whatever their social network is, right? It's like they'll just, on their WhatsApp or their Reddit or their Discord, it's like you just see whatever community you're in that just like lets people chat. It's like there are people just constantly just chatting questions that are trivially answered by a search, and these people just don't search, no matter how, regardless of the quality of the search or whatever search tool they would use. They're not using the tools. They just ask other people. And in my opinion, that's rude. And if I was in charge of an online community where I could do so, I would ban anyone who asked a Googleable question. And I want to make an online community of people who know how to search. There might not be much chatting there, but any chatting there would be something that was actually like something people don't know, right? It would every single discussion there would be solid gold, like discovery, because everyone presumably knows anything that people already know.
Of course, the trouble is most people who use Google these days, I think they just read that like kind of wrong AI summary that they see at the top because there's a lot of data.
I don't know what the hell people do. I only know what
Well, we
do.
have some data. I didn't make it the news, but I was just reading an article about how the data shows click-throughs from Google to any website have cratered. Absolutely cratered. No one clicks through. Not even bots click through anymore. Even bots just read the LLM summary. And the summaries are wrong and bad, and that's pretty much it.
Well, I think I think Google, right, didn't realize, right? Google, it's for this whole time, right? All of the portal sites, right, have been trying to keep you on their site. Right. So like even in their apps as well. So like, for example, in the Facebook app, there might be a link in a Facebook post and you would click the link and they would try to use like the embedded browser or something to make sure like you're stuck in Facebook land, right? Or they would try to, include, when you go to like, Twitter or any social network and there's like embeds, right? Rather than just plain links. It's like, yeah, we love those embeds to see them because they're really helpful, but those are designed to keep you. It's like, oh, I can see everything I need to see. I don't need to click on this and leave.
Yep.
Right. That's what that's all about. Like, embed the YouTube video. Don't leave and go to youtube.com. Everyone wants you to stay on their website and keep getting page views on them for ad clicks and engagement and all that. And because if you leave, they're worried you won't come back. That's been the logic since the 90s.
Yep.
The thing here is that Google is like, okay, we'll keep you on Google. Hopefully you'll load more Google pages that have ad impressions on them. And yeah, they might get more impressions, but if people just read this summary, right, if that's really what's happening, they're not going to ever go to page, I don't know, people hardly ever went to page 2, but they're really never going to go to page 2 or do more searches to try to find more links. Like they're going to stop on the first search and you're going to get less impressions. And then 2, if people don't click through, guess what? They're also not clicking through ads. The ads might get more, who knows about the views, yet there's reasons you might get more ad views or less, but you're going to get less ad clicks. And if you're getting less clicks, who's going to buy ads that don't get clicked on?
And the whole reason people were obsessed with getting their websites noticed by Google was because Google's power was they will direct a stream of people at you. And now they're not. They're all destroying themselves in this AI-driven clusterfuck.
Well, what really, it's, more that they're being stolen, right? It's like that used to be like the one thing that the search engine had was like, okay, we scrape your site, but eventually someone's going to have to click and go to your site, right? And that's what, but now it's like, well, we'll just copy your entire fucking website. That's why all the news orgs were so mad about Google News, because it's like, hey, people don't actually have to click through. They're just reading the news on Google News.
Well, the even worse part about that was really funny is that the news orgs really pushed to make some changes, which Google accommodated. And it turned out no one would ever click through anyway because nobody actually reads the news articles. Almost everyone going to Google News only read the headlines anyway.
Right. But what's happening here is
CNN still won't let FARC use their logo. They're the only news org that won't.
The LLM, regardless of any discussions about its quality or anything else, what it effectively is, and it technically is in many ways, is just a form of compression. And so they read the whole web and then they compress it, right? And it's basically they've copied, and rather than send someone to your website, they copy your website and then show a visitor the relevant portion of your website just rearranged, right? And the people don't even know that they came from your website, possibly, or who knows, right? And it's like, you don't need to go around the web. We've copied the entire web onto Google servers and just go like that. And that's the real problem.
GeekNights is a long-running, twice-weekly podcast begun in 2005 by Rim Scott that covers a wide range of geek culture, including anime, comics, gaming, science, tech, and just copy-pasted that line because that was badly written. I wrote that a long time ago, and I know where it is on our website.
It's not wrong yet.
Yeah. It features a format resembling a late-night show and is known for its high-quality production and continuous release of episodes. I don't know who wrote that about us, that it stole. The podcast is also available as a community and lecture series with a wide collection of episodes accessible for free online.
Not accurate.
Yeah.
That's not completely correct.
It does say we use the correct Creative Commons 4.0 International Attribution License because we updated that a while ago.
Yeah, we do that.
Yep. But
Which means that which means that they can do that.
Yep. But at least with us, our website is itself only a vehicle to get people to listen to our voices or watch our video with our voices. Like, our website is not, there's nothing on the website. You're not going to learn anything from just looking at what we talked about. You got to actually listen to what we talked about. Anyway, in some similar Google news. Oh, actually, so on this, there was related to AI. The judge in the decision made it clear that part of the reason why he didn't want to like intervene in Google too much is basically, well, AI is messing everything up anyway, so who am I to do anything here? I don't have a crystal ball. They say that all the time in these tech cases. They say the exact words that I have been asked to gaze into a crystal ball and look at the future.
Yeah, that's not the judge being like evil. That's just the judge being a judge in the U.S., which is, you know, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but I've seen this time and time again where whenever there's a court that's, going to punish businesses, especially antitrust, right? There's always arguments about like what the market is doing. And the, I guess, prevailing logic is that like, hey, the government shouldn't interfere when there's like market remedies, right? It's like if the market is correcting, like if you see a monopoly is like weak and is, it's like this monopoly has weaknesses. See, it's okay. It's like the judges will be like, oh, well, we can't bring in the hand of the government when the invisible hand is doing its job. The hand of the government should come in when the invisible hand isn't doing anything, right? And so that's whether you agree or disagree, the judge sees an invisible hand doing something and therefore doesn't want to bring in the government's hand.
Yep. The problem is you can't trust Big V to control the economy.
Yeah, obviously. But that's just, that's not even a left or right deal. That's just a U.S., business law.
Yep.
That's how it goes.
But it's just interesting that specifically their argument is, well, AI is new, so,
Yeah. And, it's the annoying thing is that judges have to rule, and juries also have to rule on cases when the cases happen, which is kind of an arbitrary point in time. And there's no leeway that I know of for them to be like, all right, we're going to, we'll do this ruling now. And also we're going to wait 5 years and we're not going to have the case again. We're just going to sentence again after we see what happens. If you're still monopoly in 5 years, I'll just do more sentencing. We're going to keep an eye on this and have some sort of monitoring, adjusting, sliding situation. No, it all has to be sentenced now, the end, go on another case.
Yep. So in another case, some other news, there is now yet another lawsuit against Google. This is specifically over not Chrome and Android and all that, but probably the most evil part of the company, the ad tech. PubMatic is suing them, accusing them of being an illegal ad monopoly, and they're suing them for billions and billions of dollars. And that case is probably going to have a similar course.
It's a much smaller, less consequential thing. Yeah, it's in the news because the other Google stories in the news. So I think that the lawyers from them were very wise with their timing. They were like, all right, we'll wait for the sentence to come out and then we'll file.
Yep.
Right?
So in a third,
they got a little boost when it's not as consequential as it may sound.
But in a third Google news, there is one part of the world, at least one, that is not beholden to America's peculiar nonsense. Europe has basically ignored threats from the United States Department of Justice and followed through with their threat to fine Google 3 billion euros for their ad tech monopoly. And that is not the end of that. That is the beginning of that. 3 billion.
There's also the Android news, right? Which is that up until this point, if you have an Android device, there are ways to just install apps on there, right? You can just do it. And on Apple devices, not as easy, right? The side loading basically doesn't exist. But now, guess what? Android's taken away the side loading, and that basically eliminates any excuse the open sourcey people had to go with Android over Apple. And so now they're stuck with the choice of stick with Android or go to Apple because it's actually better.
Yep. I mean, as I look at my iPhone and my iPad and
that you were so against for so long.
Yeah. Well, they hit a point and my life is different. But 2, my main computer is still a Windows machine, a desktop.
See how long I switched to an Apple computer not because of anything with Windows, although there are some complaints to be had with Windows, but not for me. But for the CPU, right? You look at what's going on with Intel and with AMD, and I was like, well, I don't like the Mac OS still. I still have a lot of list of gripes that Windows doesn't have these problems, Linux doesn't have these problems, but the CPU is the best CPU I can get, and therefore that's what I'll get.
Very
and
little that I do is CPU bound, especially I got an i9.
It's not about performance. It's about that's the thing you're buying. That's the number. And when you buy a computer, the CPU is the part that you are using the most. It's the most important part.
I would argue though, when I buy a desktop computer, the GPU is the thing that matters the most because that's the only thing that's differentiating how my computer is operating.
No,
because if I wasn't using my GPU, I wouldn't need a desktop at all.
Most of the time, the GPU is sitting there doing nothing.
Oh yeah, but if I were not,
the most important part. I want a high quality engine that's reliable.
But I'm saying the things I do on my computer that require an advanced GPU, if I were not doing those things, I would not need a desktop at all.
It's about the quality.
Yeah, but I'm saying then I would probably just have a MacBook because I wouldn't literally need any of those things.
Well, also the GPU in there is more powerful than you would expect.
It's not going to run full frame VR nonsense that I'm doing right now.
No, but it's like
I push my 4080 to 100% with some of the stuff I've been playing with.
It's the best CPU that you can get as a consumer in a normal computer, regardless. Anyway,
the listener is curious how long it took you to get the hang of Apple's keyboard shortcuts.
The keyboard, I can switch between Mac, Linux, and Windows keyboard shortcuts unconsciously.
I ran into only one trouble. Actually, the trouble I ran into, and I'm sure I'll get used to it, is if I am using my iPad to remote desktop into a Windows computer, then it flips to the Windows controls as long as I'm in the remote desktop monitor, and it goes back to the Mac controls when I'm in any other app on my iPad.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a deal breaker. It's just I keep hitting Command and Alt at the wrong time until I just get used to it and get used to that content switch.
So I just switched up, like if you actually gave me if you put Windows on the screen, but switched all the keyboard shortcuts to Mac,
I get used to it.
I would keep unconsciously using Windows shortcuts because it looks like Windows.
Yep.
Right. It's I don't have that. I don't have that problem. I just anyway. What was I saying? Oh, right. So I wonder though if the Linux people will try to go to one of those some weird third barely supported mobile OS that is not Android or iOS.
Honestly, in my opinion, right now, in terms of security and privacy and reliability, an Apple phone is the best hardware you're gonna get.
Yeah, as a normal person.
So in one last little Google News, because we talked about this a long time ago on GeekNights when they did it without the so-called AI, they did a trial of a thing we talked about at GeekNights so long ago, where Google Maps would be able to call a business that doesn't have a website to confirm information for you or make a reservation for you. And on one hand, I see a lot of value in that kind of thing, but on the other hand, I do see a significant problem, and it's the same problem with these web scrapers. If you've got a business,
you're just trying to scrape
a human. I mean, already when I call a lot of restaurants and businesses, a lot of times just the phone rings and then it goes to a full voicemail box, and I call a few times. Someone eventually picks up because they're not used to getting that many phone calls, and the phone calls are usually, I guess, very simple and straightforward. But Google is now trying to deploy this again at a much bigger scale than they did before. And they want to use their LLMs to do it and basically have Google call restaurants and businesses to set up appointments and confirm schedules and make arrangements on your behalf while you're interacting with an LLM. And I just want to point out, of all the externalities and problems that this could cause, that we've talked about those in Geek Nights before, the one we didn't really talk about is that the same thing is going to happen to businesses that is already happening to their websites. If you got a restaurant that has a website, that website is increasingly going to be under constant attack by web scrapers that may eventually bring it down. It'll be too expensive for that restaurant to have a website unless they merge it onto one of those giant platforms that charges a ton of money. Now restaurants are going to have to eventually stop answering the phone because the phone will be nothing but LLMs calling them constantly. All right, you can jump right into things of the day. But anyway, things of the day. So the demo scene is super cool. And independently, my favorite calculator that I ever used in my life remains not the TI-86, which came later and was not wholly better than the TI-85. It was better in many ways, but it was worse in some other ways in terms of certain performance. But I liked the TI-85, and it was the calculator I used the most in my entire life. I knew a lot about the TI-85. And this video, something I'd never seen before. This is the most advanced demo I have ever seen on the TI-85. We have a Discord outage, it looks like. Oh, wow. Discord is like down hard. The stream's still up, but Discord's down. Give me 1 second. I'm going to loop Scott in another way. All right, give us a second. Yeah, Discord's down. So new breaking news on GeekNights. As of a second ago, Discord went down hard. Give me a second to see. Wow, Discord, it's down enough to where it's actually causing the client to like crash. What other mechanism? Now, what do I have set up to video call with Scott? Let's see. I'm going to move over to this other window here. Let's see. Actually, Google Meet was down earlier. Ooh. Let's see. Ba 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 ba. Discord is down globally. All right, we'll see if Scott can join a meet. Otherwise, we will defer this Geek Nights to later. I didn't notice Scott went away at first. I thought he just didn't have anything to say in response to my thing around the AIs. He was silent, and I saw him go like he was going to take a drink. Well, let's see if Google Meet works. Otherwise... Oh!
Oh, it feels like I'm at work.
Oh, the Google Meet audio is so much worse.
Yeah, right, because it's not designed for quality. It's designed for
yeah,
meetings with 1 million people.
It sounds like it might be getting audio from your webcam or something, actually.
Let me check.
You check that? We can probably finish the show with
setting.
this.
Oh.
Yeah, it's interesting that Meet went down
Different microphone.
a little while ago, too.
I switched the microphone on Google.
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have my audio only. I used to have the Sele audio only that I'd throw up on top of you when I didn't have your face.
My camera's on, but...
No, I have your face. It's just my OBS is not set up to capture this kind of window.
Okay.
I'm not going to fix that. I'm just going to leave your face off so we can get the show done.
Then I'll save my bandwidth and hide.
Yes. All right. I'm going to hit record again.
I'm still recording from the other time.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I talked about the AI thing and then you just didn't say anything. So I was like, all right, let's just get into things of the day. But anyway, things of the day. Right during the outage, before I realized Scott was gone, I already talked about my thing of the day, which is this demo of the TI-85. So Scott, what's your thing of the day?
Oh, you already did your whole thing?
I did my whole thing of the day before I noticed you were gone.
Okay, this is a website called the Old Robots website, and it's one of those 90s styling websites. And it's basically a really bad, like, giant table of old school HTML with every kind of fucking robot, mostly toy robots, but other kinds of robots.
This website looks so good.
Oh yeah, but it's just like, yeah, you know, you want to see your Tomy robots, your other robots, page 7. Yeah, it's pretty much anything that like looks like a robot is somewhere on here if you can find it.
As a kid, I always wanted these robots, and
you click on any one of these, and like there's like tons of photos and info of like each and every one. It's a mega collection. For some reason, there's like a string of flags at the top. They got
it's a high quality website from a bygone era.
Yeah, they got posters, they got manuals, it's just the ultimate robot.
Oh shit, I had this BART droid, the laser tag one.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen a robot,
I had this. I clicked around randomly and I landed up on a page. We had this laser tag robot set, my brother and I. Okay. This exact one. What are the odds?
I mean, what are the odds that a robot that exists is on the old robot website?
No, like what are the odds that I clicked randomly on this website and I kept clicking until I hit a random robot? It happened to be this one.
I mean, there's a lot of robots per page, and if you're nerdy, you've seen a lot of robots, so the odds of clicking on a page and seeing a robot you recognize are high.
But a robot I had, because I couldn't afford any of these robots as a kid.
Sock'em Robot is listed on here, so there, I see immediately. I clicked, and there I go. There's one.
Yeah.
I scroll down a little bit. Oh, there's Mr. Mike. I've seen Mr. Mike before.
Yeah. Did you own a Mr. Mike? 99% of these robots I did not own.
Oh, there's Panda Z, which is Messenger Z, but in Panda
Did you own that?
But I've seen it before.
Well, I owned the BART droid robot for Laser Challenge.
Okay, congrats.
In the meta moment, the GeekNights Book Club book, which I will update the site this week. It's a short book, so we'll probably record the episode in advance and then give you some time to read it because we know how the listener is.
2 murder bots long, and I read it in one shot.
So, The Running Man by Richard Bachman, who you may know better as Stephen King.
The copy I got from the library said The Running Man, Stephen King, as Richard Bachman in tiny print. So I think they've given up on the ghost the ghost name, whatever, the pen name.
Spoilers, it is of course nothing like the movie because the movie is an Arnold movie.
It is so far like removed from the movie. Like I figured it would be different. No, it's like there are some themes that are in common. You can tell that they tried to keep the theme from the movie, like the main idea, and like they kept a couple character names and a little bit of the setting, barely, but everything else is just completely different.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a fun time because we'll do an episode about this book, which was published the year I was born, and then separately we're gonna rewatch The Running Man, the Arnold Schwarzenegger classic that I have seen.
I did that as well. I rewatched it.
I have seen that movie a bunch of times, but I have not seen it
right now
since I was in high school.
I've seen it less than 5 times, and some of the times weren't full watches, like bits and pieces on TV or whatever. But and the last time I even glanced at it had to be at least a decade ago or more.
I remember.
I just watched the whole thing.
I think I remember it almost in its entirety.
There's not much to it to forget.
Well, the thing is, what most people I know forget about in this movie is that actually very long bit in the beginning where they're in the prison with the collars and they break out. Everyone just remembers the game show.
Short bit, but yes, that's the reason I also did not remember that much because of all the times that I had seen bits and pieces on TV. Obviously, you didn't catch it at the beginning, so you didn't see that part.
So when I was a little kid and I saw Star Wars, for the first time, like as a little kid, I literally thought I just started it in the middle and there was more that I just hadn't seen. And everyone thought that was hilarious.
It was episode 4. You did start in the middle.
Time travel.
Yeah.
Also, we're back from PAX, and our talk, Mastering Game Mechanics, Auctions, and Bidding, is already on YouTube because, so in the beginning of this talk, there's a really funny bit where Scott tells the audience, yo, why are you even here? There are 2 cameras back there.
I say that every time.
And 2 more. But there's this moment where you point at each of the 4 cameras recording us, and you say, all of these cameras are recording this talk. You do not need to be here. And then, at the end of the talk, just as we finish, you turn to me and you say the words, I forgot to hit record on my camera.
I noticed it way too late.
Yep.
There were like 5 minutes left on the red clock, and I looked.
Well, I'm going to admit to you, my video was also not great, and it was a little blurry, and I went to see why, and you know what happens? I had it perfectly focused. And then as I am walking away from it, I must have, like, while I was setting up the microphone or on the top, you clearly see I bumped the focus ring and I didn't look. Like I bumped it with my arm and you see it go out of focus. And then I walk forward and then the panel starts. So we ended up using, thankfully, we were in a theater where PAX recorded us with not 1, not 2, but 3 technicians. There was an audio technician, there was a operational technician, and we had a camera operator. And the PAX camera, they actually panned back and forth between our 2 diatribes. They did a really good job.
Okay. But I made a checklist for any future panel videoing so that I never forget to press record again.
Yeah.
It's really weird because like there's this sort of psychology of like, I don't want to push record. So it's like I remember to push record, but I'm like, don't push it now. It didn't start yet. I'll wait. I'll push it at the last minute because I want to save battery and storage. But it's like, why?
Yep.
It's going to last for the 1 panel for an hour. The battery and the storage will last. It's better to push record and have extra at the beginning and not, you could just cut it out. It doesn't cost anything. Just better than forgetting to push record entirely. Well, and in which case you have nothing.
It's not like the old days where I had a camera with a battery that would last about 62 minutes. So
yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's get into the main bit because I don't think this one has to be super long, but we have been talking about doing more and more specific topics.
Well, because we run out of Monday ideas.
Yeah, that is true.
Develop in the technology world. I think we did a show about not having Monday ideas.
I think we've done multiple about that. And as much as I'd be fine doing Tech News Roundup after Tech News Roundup.
I think we did it. Anyway, I think we did an episode about no Monday ideas and no Wednesday ideas. I mean, you try doing a podcast this long and run out of ideas, okay? So it's like we could start review, because we always do like broad topics. We could review individual items, but I hate doing that, right? So, and also that wouldn't, even if we did that, it wouldn't last long enough for a whole podcast episode. So the idea, we'll test out this idea. It doesn't hurt to test it out one time. If it's no good, we won't do it again, you know? But what if we just, instead of reviewing one item, review all of the items in a category that we are familiar with? And then it's not really the, so I guess we said we're going to do mice.
Yep. Specific mice.
We did a show long ago about computer mice in general as a concept. And I'm sure in that episode, we must have talked about mice we are familiar with, but we didn't like review each specific one that we know.
Yep.
So that's what we'll try and do and see if it's a good show or not.
Yeah. So I'll get right into it because mice up until... And now it wasn't when I started gaming, because I was gaming long before there were good mice. But it really wasn't until the year 2010 that I gave a shit about my mouse. Mice were just, they were all the same as far as I was concerned. There were bad mice, but the default computer mouse was basically fine for everything. Up until in the year 2010, I bought, I think it was 2010, it might have been a little bit before that, but I bought a SteelSeries XAIRT 2010, so I assume it's from the year 2010, mouse. And it was a mouse that was designed to be good for playing FPSs, ostensibly. And you know what? It was actually noticeably superior to the previous mouse I'd been using up to that point, which was the generic Logitech laser mouse or diode mouse that everyone used in that era.
Yeah, so I cared about mice long before then. I guess the first mouse I used was the Apple Mouse 2E.
I was saying, I've used all those mice, and I thought they were all shit until you had the 2-button, regular old Logitech
first
shaped
mouse I owned, but it was the first one I used.
Nah.
And since I didn't have experience with any other mice, I didn't really think much of it. And then the first mouse I had was some 2-button wheel mouse that came with our IBM computer.
Wheel. Our mouse didn't have a wheel. Wheels didn't work yet.
No, I mean ball. A ball with 2 buttons.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, I had the 2-button ball mouse that was there were 2 shapes to it that I saw out there. There was the wide one and the long one, and the long one was kind of superior. And that was a mouse. There weren't different mice to me.
We replaced it with like a Logitech one that was also 2 buttons with a ball, but it wasn't. Like,
and the 2
lighter,
buttons were really important. I remember encountering computers that only had 1 button and thinking how backward and horrible that was. 2 was great.
You really need the 2 buttons, right?
But meanwhile, back then,
at least
I had friends who had 3-button mice. They did exist.
Yeah,
and
so that was in fact the first mouse I bought with my money.
I remember you using that 3-button mouse. I think I have a photo of it somewhere.
When I bought a computer and built a computer for the first time in 98, 99, I went and I got the Logitech Wingman gaming mouse, which I think might have been the first. I don't know if it was the first mouse advertised as a gaming mouse specifically, but this mouse was looked like a bear claw. It was like big and wide and had 3 buttons, which is terrific. And it had a ball because optical mice weren't invented yet, and it was a bigger ball than other mice, which actually mattered to some extent.
I did not know the ball was bigger. I would agree with that assessment.
It was a bigger ball, and it was a USB mouse when USB was barely at 1.0 only, and it gave you a little adapter so you could use it as a PS2 mouse if you wanted.
The problem I had, the reason I didn't like the 3-button mice at the time, I did not know about the bigger ball. I might have considered that because I cared a lot about FPSs back then.
It wasn't that much bigger.
Yeah, but I know myself. I cared a lot about FPSs back then, and I would have thought about that bigger ball. But
Got big balls.
The 3rd button was basically worthless, except in gaming, until the advent of the tabbed web browser. The tabbed web browser changed everything when it came to mice for me.
Yep, exactly.
And then but basically, while you use that mouse, I like at RIT, I just had a Logitech diode mouse, an optical mouse. And I just use regular old optical mice, and whenever one broke, I just get another one and get the exact same, the cheapest Logitech diode mouse, and I just use it. It was fine. I didn't think about it at all.
So I was using that 3rd mouse button, obviously for gaming.
Yep.
Right? A lot of games I would bind it to all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Before there was a wheel, right, that existed, which came later. But I would also use it, for example, in most Linuxes, which I was using since also 1999, right? Middle click is you would highlight middle click paste, which still isn't a thing on Windows or Mac really, where you can just highlight some text, not have to do Control C and just middle click somewhere else, and it pastes the currently highlighted text. There's a separate clipboard just for the highlighted text so that you can middle click paste. And I was using that like crazy for a long time. And middle click had other uses, but yeah, 3 buttons is the correct number of buttons on a mouse. The mouse I have now has 2 side thumb buttons, which I think a lot of the mouse I've had recently have those 2 side thumb buttons.
Oh yeah, I got the 2 side thumb buttons on the left, plus I got another button, a 3rd button, and if I hit it, I can just, while I'm holding it, I can have the mouse sensitivity be different.
Oh
so
yeah, that button also, yeah. But
I use that for sniping in Overwatch.
Right, but the sensitivity button doesn't do anything else.
No.
Right? But the side buttons, I basically have never used them, even though they're always there.
I use them heavily in FPSs and no other kind of game.
No, I don't use them for anything, gaming or non-gaming. I just use so much keyboard. I use the mouse so minimally. Like you just mentioned, using the middle click for opening links in a new tab when there's a tabbed web browser. And yeah, that's what I did for a long ass time. But now I'm so keyboard, I don't even do that anymore. I don't even like if it wasn't for games, I don't think I would need the middle click at all. It's like I went so hard on the keyboard. Now it's like I don't need.
I actually, when I think I barely middle click anymore either. What I do the most, because Emily and I, we noticed, the kind of work she does with 3D and the kind of work I do with like GeekNights and audio processing and all that stuff, they're both in the same class of software. And that class of software is everything is very, very tall context menus. But the moment when I tried to get a special mouse, that Steel series, what stood out to me was that one, it was a lot heavier. And the heaviness actually made me better at FPSs in a way I didn't expect. Like, it actually gave me a lot more precision and control that I could feel. Like, I like that heaviness. I guess I'd used those Logitech mice weighed nothing. So the Steel series felt like, wow, look how heavy this mouse is. But it had this gamer bullshit where it had these weights that you could like distribute through it.
There was a mouse I had that had the weights. I
now,
forget which
my
one.
current Logitech does have that. I just threw the weights away as soon as I got it. Like, I don't play with any of that crap. The mouse is plenty heavy. But the Steel series was just heavier, and it had software to fine-tune how the mouse worked, which at the time, that was not easy to do. There was a big problem back in the day where Windows basically would do shit to your mouse, and you didn't really get raw input, unless you did difficult to do annoying stuff. And the Steel series driver and the Steel series like application let me like fine tune my like precision and fine tune my sensitivity and the acceleration for my games. And I spent a lot of time futzing with that, and I'd say only about 20% of that futzing was material. The rest of it was just futzing for nothing.
Yeah, I also futzed with various mice softwares over the years because basically once I got that Logitech Wingman mouse, I was exclusively just getting Logitech mice of various gaming and non-gaming varieties from 1999 through like 20 something very, very recently.
I was the same. The Steel series was the only deviation.
2018. In 2018, I switched. I tried to get a Razer mouse, which I didn't like and didn't last very long. And now I have an Extra 5 mouse and a Magic Trackpad.
Yep. So once I got that Steel series, which I'm assuming I got in 2010, I can see, because I went through my purchase history. In the year 2016, I went back to Logitech with the bog standard gaming mouse, that G502, the wired one. And you know what? I bought a second one in 2021 because I broke the first one. I broke the wheel playing FPSs. And in 2024, I bought a third one because I broke the wheel again playing FPSs.
Yeah, I don't like those. The G502 is one of those ones that looks like a pile of razor blades.
I like the pile of razor blades, but what I really like about it is that little thumb shelf.
I don't like the thumb shelf.
I love that thumb shelf because I don't put the palm of my hand never touches a mouse. I'm holding the mouse by my fingers only. Whole life.
Anyway, but yeah, the various Logitech mice I had, some of them were good and some of them were less good, right? It's, there were some that had some durability issues. There were some that had like a nice surface, but then over time the surface maybe got like gummy or bland.
Oh yeah, the Steel series, like the surface started to degrade. And actually, to the Logitech's credit, I've never had the friction pads on the bottom degrade before something else broke on the mouse.
Yeah, we're talking about on the top though, right? Like where your hand.
Oh yeah.
There's different parts, some of them like a button would break or the wheel wasn't. Some of them the wheel was stiffer or less stiff.
For me, it's the wheel because the wheel now has this, you can click left and right with it. And
some of them have that, some of them don't.
The G502 has that. And on one hand, I like that. And the problem was I was using it in FPSs for certain things. And as a result, I'd be winging this thing back and forth so much. It was clearly not intended for that. And I keep breaking it. So I actually stopped using that in FPSs. I just use it as a middle click.
When I had a mouse that had it, I forget which Logitech it was. I only ever used it for like left and right scroll on like web pages that were broken and too wide, and it wasn't that great. So I'm glad my current mouse doesn't have it. I think there was only one I ever bought that had that.
But I like the G502 enough to where when I eventually break this one, I'm probably just going to buy another G502 because they're pretty cheap.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap because they're old now, right?
Yeah, and also I don't like wireless mouse because I literally never take my mouse anywhere. I just plug it in.
I like a wireless mouse because you don't have this cable getting stuck on shit on your desk.
That doesn't happen because my desk, I use the little shelf with my mouse and keyboard on it, and at the back of the shelf, I actually built a little friction pad ridge that goes around the edge.
You built like a whole thing.
I did, and you know what? The cable, invincible, fine, has literally never caused a problem.
And then, the other thing is that if you have a wireless mouse, there were mice that I've had, some Logitech ones that were wireless. I think maybe was it the G603 maybe was one of those? Yeah. The G603 was a wireless one I had that, like, it was basically the perfect mouse. Like, I love that mouse, except for the only thing wrong with it was I had the 2 unnecessary side buttons. But also, they broke. I had to like send one in and get like it had some kind of issue with like firmware or something, and it was like broken.
Wow.
I forget exactly what the issue was.
I've never had a mouse fail in any way but physical.
Yeah, no, there was actually like a problem with the mouse itself.
See, now my other problem with the Steel series was they had special software, and that software was bad.
Yeah, so Logitech,
I use the Logitech software now, actually.
Yeah, the Logitech software started out in its early days as like, okay, right? You just you had the Windows and you had the Logitech software to both adjust the mouse and you could figure it out. But then over time, the Logitech software became like shittier and shittier and was like sort of like one of those annoying things that you would uninstall that if it came pre-installed on your computer.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, I kind of didn't want it anymore, especially since, the mouse had like its own controls. I don't really need all those extra controls anymore. And so then I got the Razer mouse, which also had its own software, which is even worse than the Logitech software somehow. And that mouse also had durability issues.
The Logitech software has gotten
there was
better.
Like a rubber thing on the side of the Razer mouse that like came unglued and peeled off. So I don't know why people rated that mouse so highly.
Yeah. But
yeah, it's like I got this Xtrfy mouse, XTRFY M4. And as far, in terms of not a trackpad, this mouse is, as of now, like the best mouse I've had, right? It's wireless, but you can
that's the one with the speed holes.
Yeah, it has the speed holes. The holes I don't care about, but the...
it's missing the shelf. I couldn't use it.
No shelf, yeah. So
I need a shelf for my thumb.
It's got 2 buttons. They're the correct shape and the correct amount of clickiness. It has a wheel that wheels nicely and clicks, but doesn't go sideways. It has the sensitivity button. It has the 2 side buttons I don't use, but they're not in the way. You can plug it in and use it as a USB mouse or wireless mouse, right? Either way, and it just switches instantly. You unplug it and it's like, boop, you plug it in, and you're plugging it in to charge it because it has its own battery on the inside. But it's actually not difficult to open it and change the battery if it ever dies. And there is no software whatsoever for this mouse. It just shows up as a normal mouse. And if you want to change any feature of the mouse, you do so with a switch on the bottom of the mouse and by pushing buttons on the mouse. There's like lights and there's codes, there's a little manual. It's not very complicated, actually.
What I do appreciate about the Logitechs now is they support both. This Logitech, I can either leave the configs in the mouse and it'll be the same no matter what computer I plug it into, and I configure it similarly by futzing with it, or I use the software and I tell the mouse, do whatever the software says. That was good. When the mouse broke, I bought another mouse of the same type and I plugged it in and it was immediately configured exactly like my old mouse.
All right. But the final thing is that the mouse lets you, I haven't used this feature, but there is like some adjusters that you can do for different things. I've never messed with those, and I guess some gaming nerd might want to. You just like there's a screw you can turn to like move something on the inside back and forth. I don't know if it's a weight or whatever. I don't mess with that. This RGB, I just turned that off.
I turned it on. I like that my mouse is colored based on the sampling of whatever's on my screen.
Okay. But you can also store multiple profiles in the mouse if you were a super gamer and you're like, okay, put the mouse in Counter-Strike mode. Now put it in another mode, right? Desktop mode or another game mode. You can just push a button on the bottom and switch between some number of profiles you've configured for different games if you ever need to do that.
Oh, I will say, as much as the thumb is missing, I see a review from someone who uses the same mouse grip that I do. Like they hold the mouse the same way I do, and they gave it a very positive review.
Well, you can try the mouse. I just have it.
Yeah, I will.
And then, of course, I have the Magic Trackpad, which I guess counts as a mouse. I wouldn't count any trackpad that was like built into a laptop, right? But I do count the trackpad because it's its own device, right? As a mouse. And the thing about the Magic Trackpad, I think that's good, is for scroll, it's like better at scrolling than a wheel, right? Because you could just flick and like get exactly the right amount of power. Somehow it's just correct. And also the gestures, if you learn them subconsciously, it's actually really efficient. But for obviously you can't play a game with it most games. And also the thing that still sucks with a trackpad is just dragging, right? Dragging things, even with a giant trackpad, dragging sucks. So I'm sort of getting the best of both worlds where I'm mostly using keyboard, so it's not a hindrance really, right? I'm like 75% keyboard, but I got both mice here. So, you know, I can use the trackpad for just about everything. But if I suddenly have to like use some Photoshop, for example, it's like I'll push the trackpad away and pull over the mouse to do some Photoshop, right? And then switch back to the trackpad for normal browsy kind of action.
Yeah.
You know?
Sometimes I'll have like a drawing tablet out and my hand will either be drawing on the tablet or reaching over to use my mouse while I'm still holding the pen for the tablet, like in between my fingers. So the last thing, and then I got to end because Emily's actually going to do a separate thing next to me in a few minutes, but I had one more mouse that I owned. When I got my last laptop, I got the Microsoft Surface Laptop 3, and I use it a lot on the go because I traveled a lot. I bought it because I was traveling a
little
lot.
Portable mouse.
So I got one of those. I got the Microsoft Arc mouse, and its deal was it's completely flat with a battery in it. And to turn it on, you curve it, and then it's shaped like a mouse, but only on the top, like it's a 2D mouse that turns into a 3D shape when you bend it, and that turns it on. And
I never used it, but I've seen it.
so it was fantastic, and I still have it, and I use it when I travel. But I have one gripe that is insane. The way the button is physical, it's not one of those fake, like it's a touchpad on the front of the mouse. It's a real button. It clicks. But it's actually only one button, and it uses where it feels your finger to determine if it's a left click or a right click.
That's what the Magic Trackpad does.
That's horrible because I never take my fingers off the mouse, so I can't right click without lifting my index finger off the mouse with this fucking thing, which meant the one thing I bought it for that I couldn't do with it is play video games or certain kinds of video games on my laptop while I was traveling.
That's true, right? Yeah, the Magic Trackpad is a trackpad, so it's like, yeah, obviously I'm only pushing it in one place at a time. But if it was a mouse-shaped Magic Trackpad, I would have both fingers always on the buttons.
It is inexplicable to me that they did it that way, that they put a touchpad that's there that only figures out where your finger is, and then there's just one button behind it. It could have been two buttons.
I mean, the Magic Mouse, the Apple Magic Mouse is complete garbage for very similar reasons. Right? It's like that thing is fucking worthless, even if somehow you get the one that doesn't need to be charged upside down, right? It's like the M4 mouse, I can charge it while I'm using it in wired mode. The Magic Mouse, the one that has like the lightning port on the bottom, it's like you can't. But even if you could charge it with the charging port in the front somehow, it's like, yeah, it's stupid for the same reason that Microsoft mouse is stupid. I think, you know, those are mice for non-advanced mice users. I don't know who that is though, because I feel like if you're not an advanced mice user, you're not using a mice.
I think that mouse was just bought by people who were buying Surface laptops and they just added it to the cart.
Yeah,
because it looked nice. That's how I bought it.
It is somewhat clever, but you know, yeah.
All right, we'll stop there because Emily's about to do her thing, so we timed it well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Anyway, see ya.
Bye bye.